So, we've heard from some incredible founders and entrepreneurs who have shared their success stories with us tonight. They've given us such great advice. But before we move on, I'd like to take a moment to recognize all the startups from Canada who are part of Collision this year. So if we could all put your hands together as we welcome up on stage the many incredible Canadian startups that help make Collision possible. Let's hear it for them. Everyone up on stage. Hey.
How you doing?
How are you doing?
So, I hope you've all had a fantastic evening so far. Have you had a good evening? And hopefully you all will be heading to Night Summit a little later, and we'll see you all bright and early at 8 a.m. tomorrow morning. So moving Collision to Toronto really has been a pretty incredible decision for us, and genuinely, Sunil, well, you're not taking a selfie. I'd just like to say thank you for pestering me for years and persuading me, us, the whole team, eventually to make the decision. It's been an incredible decision and one that we're eternally grateful for. So Mayor John Tory also played a huge role in persuading us to make Toronto and not San Francisco Collision's new home. So please put your hands together and give a huge warm welcome to the Mayor of Toronto, John Tory.
Oh, there you are.
Hey!
How are you? Well, Paddy, thank you, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I want to set the record straight on something. Paddy said earlier on that Sunil and maybe my passion for the Raptors, which is very real, by the way, and if you want to go over to Jurassic Park tomorrow night, which is what we call the place in front of the arena, you're welcome there, that was the deciding factor in getting Collision to come here. It wasn't that at all. It was the presence in my office on a shelf in a place of honor of a rugby ball signed by the Canadian women's rugby team. And he said, any mayor that can have a rugby ball in his office, we're moving the conference. That's how these decisions are made. But I want to welcome you all to Toronto. We are absolutely amazed to have you here and to see this event finally thriving in our city. And I thank you very much for coming. We brought Collision to Toronto because we knew it would do a lot for the city, but we hope it will do a lot for you as well. And we are determined to keep growing this sector. We're determined to do it in a way that is different. I could give you all the numbers, and I'll give you a few in terms of some of the investments we saw in 1 month alone last year. But what's really important here in Toronto is that we're trying to do things differently, and the Prime Minister made quite a few references to that during his remarks. And it doesn't mean it's better, it doesn't mean it's worse, it just means it's different. And we wanted to be a part of one of the fastest growing conferences in the world because we felt that a lot of Collision would rub off on Toronto, and we hoped a little bit of Toronto would rub off on Collision, this now being the 4th largest tech market in all of North America. So it's your opportunity this week to learn about tech innovation from each other and for us to learn from you. And our city is booming. Our city is booming. In 1 month, the month of September, last year, we saw $1.4 billion of investment come from some of the major international companies, and they came here because they knew that we had the startup community that we have. I'm so proud of the people here. These are people from across Canada, but they're part of a startup community in this country that has attracted the global investors to come here. And we don't look at it as either or. We look at it as both. And I think that's one of the reasons why Collision wanted to be here. But I also wanted to make sure that you understood that beyond the numbers, because there's a lot that goes beyond the numbers, we are trying to do it differently here. We're trying to do it differently. We are trying to make sure that diversity here is a fact. 51% of the people who live in this city were born outside of Canada. That's a fact. The goal is inclusion. The goal is inclusion that spreads across the population of the city as a whole, but also make sure that the tech sector is not left out of that. And that means a focus that we've placed first and foremost on women in tech. Jody Kovitz is here from a great organization called Move the Dial. And she's worked hard, and her organization has worked hard. I can see Jody has some fans here. But she's worked hard and the organization's worked hard, but we have helped as civic leaders, and I'm delighted to be joined tonight by some of the members of Toronto City Council and one of our deputy mayors. But we've worked hard by saying, as she requested we do, we won't come to events where the panels don't have proper representation of women and where the audiences are not going to have proper representation of women, and she tells me it's made a difference, and we're going to continue to make that difference. And we're also making an effort to make sure that the sector, the ecosystem that we're so proud to have here is one that is representative of the population in which it finds itself. And so that means that we embrace people, regardless of their race or their nationality, their skin color, their faith, their sexual orientation. We need everybody in this sector, and that's part of the DNA that is making Toronto work as a city and that is making the tech sector work. Everybody is included, everybody is embraced, everybody is an important part of what we're trying to build here. And I want to just conclude on one last really important note, because it's the other thing we're trying to do, and again, Prime Minister Trudeau made reference to this in his remarks earlier on. And that is that we're trying to make sure that the tech ecosystem here helps us not just to generate jobs, and they've been a huge job creator, thousands and thousands of new jobs last year. It's not just producing investment. It's not just producing profits, which are a good thing, because fairly taxed, they can support the programs that we invest in here, many of which Mr. Trudeau made reference to. But it's because we're asking the sector to go beyond dollars and cents and jobs and investment, as important as they are, and help us to use the power of the technology, the power of the smart people to advance our social interests and to build a better city here. So I thank you very much for being here. I should tell you one last thing. In the interest of full, plain and true disclosure, we have a new bylaw. Seth made reference to legislation making its way through the House of Commons. We have a bylaw here that requires that your suitcases be inspected when you leave the airport. And this is in order to make sure you've done enough shopping while you're here. So I'm telling you about this to avoid awkward moments at the airport. If you could do the shopping, then you won't be sent back town. You'll be able to catch your flight and go home. So I hope you have a wonderful time in the city. We're thrilled to have Collision here. We thank Paddy and the whole team and Sunil for bringing it here, and I hope you have a great time. Thank you very much.
Both of you come in here. It's time. I'd just like to ask Mayor Tory, would you join me to start the countdown to Collision 2019. Is there a countdown? Here it goes.
I think they think we can count. You ready?
Thank you. Amazing. Thanks a million to absolutely everybody who came this evening. We're thrilled to be here and we're looking forward to tomorrow. See you all in the morning. Have a great night.